We have some interesting news out of the fake meat industry. It turns out their own internal corporate funded research is showing that fake meat alternatives are actually horrible for your health. I'm shocked, just like I know you're shocked by that revelation. So shocked, in fact, that you may wonder why I bothered making a video about this. But just wait for it because you'll see just how bad these health impacts may actually be. And most astonishingly, the major manufacturer of the fake meat in question made the information public themselves, which probably got them some angry phone calls to their executives from large investors in the company, some of whom are very high profile people. How this will impact them remains to be seen. But let's take a look at the story. And not to bury the lead here, but before we talk about the negative health outcomes from these new fake meats, let's get some context and talk about this. Headline from CNBC. Beyond Meat is rolling out its steak substitute in grocery stores. This is obviously a desperation move on the part of the most high-profile fake meat company of all of them, at least in the United States. Beyond just laid off 19% of their staff, their stock has crashed, and in general, their days are numbered as a company unless they change something. You should, by the time you see this video, be able to find their fake steaks in Walmart, Kroger, and a few other smaller chains, and let me know if you've seen them. Now, this news comes hot on the heels of Beyond Meat announcing partnerships with the one fast food company that makes sense for them, Taco Bell, which is notorious for selling the lowest grade beef possible. From the CNBC article, quote, the new product will roll out nationwide at more than 5,000 Kroger and Walmart stores, as well as Albertsons, Ahold Delhaize, Jewel Osco, Sprouts, and other local grocers. The Beyond steak will be sold in grocery stores, comes and packaged in bite-sized pieces. It uses fava bean protein as its base and contains 21 grams of protein per serving, according to the company. It also has lower saturated fat content than beef steak and contains no cholesterol. The 10-ounce package will retail for $7.99. Historically, product launches have boosted Beyond sales, driving new and returning customers to try the item. That would be welcome news for the company, which has seen its sales slide and investors lose hope in its long-term growth prospects. In the second quarter, Beyond reported U.S. grocery sales rose just 2.2%, while restaurant revenue was off 2.4%. This year, shares of the company have lost 80% of their value, shrinking its market value to $821 million. At its record high in July 2019, Beyond was valued at $13.4 billion. Not all Beyond launches have been a hit. Shoppers weren't very keen on Beyond Meat Jerky, a meat-free jerky made through the company's joint venture with PepsiCo. Anybody surprised that a soft drink manufacturer was working on that stuff? I'm not. Executives said in August that demand was below its initial estimates. The snack item also has been very expensive for Beyond to produce, putting pressure on its profit margins this year, although that's expected to wane. Beyond is expected to report its third quarter results after the bell on November 9th. End quote. So I skipped a lot of the context information that you're all too familiar with. But with the stock report on November 9th, which should be just a couple days from now, you can expect Dr. Sean Baker and a few others to do videos talking about how their woes continued. So keep an eye out for that if you're into a little schadenfreude at the expense of the hyper-processed food industry. Now, a couple of points worth focusing on in that article, and it's why I started there. The food product has lower saturated fat than beef and has 21 grams of plant protein, which in general is highly dubious as a protein source in terms of bioavailability and long-term side effects on the human body. That price point for once is not so bad at $7.99 for 10 ounces, which puts it at a comparable price to the real thing. You may think that sounds weird, but remember, most people eating that stuff aren't looking for a couple hundred grams of protein a day like most of us are. And I doubt it will get many people to make the switch, even part-time, to fake meat, but we'll see. And that brings me to the main story. We now know that the fake meats like Impossible and Beyond products are pretty bad for our health, which isn't surprising in the slightest. Thanks to the viewer who sent this article to me. It is appreciated. Headline from Natural Health 365. Warning, GMO ingredient in Impossible Burger linked to weight gain, kidney disease. That's reassuring and in no way surprising. Remember, the more processed the food item is, the more bad for your health it is. That just seems like a universally acceptable rule to live by. Even if you do not agree with me on keto and carnivore diets and how those are how people should be eating, I hope we can at least agree that eating a processed food heavy diet is a terrible, terrible idea. These health side effects are no joke. From the article, quote, Impossible Burgers, Beyond Burgers, and other faux meat options are marketed as healthy alternatives to animal flesh that supposedly benefit the environment and the greater good. Though vegan alternatives certainly have their merits, as an aside, I would dispute that. Continuing, there are also some important drawbacks. Impossible Foods recently conducted an analysis of rats after consuming Impossible faux burgers. The study results were fairly surprising, especially from the perspective of Impossible executives, who likely assumed their products would have minimal or no impact on rats. The Impossible Foods rat study reveals the main ingredient within the faux burgers, soy leg hemoglobin. Judging from the name as an aside, folks, soy leg hemoglobin is the stuff that gives it that fake bleeding tendency that these meats have. Continuing. Spurred the onset of the inexplicable alterations within rat biology. Impossible Foods soy leg hemoglobin is genetically engineered rather than natural. It is possible that genetic alteration of the soy is the underlying cause of the changes in rats' weight and even alterations to blood composition that cause kidney disease, inflammation, and possibly worse. The study even revealed that soy leg hemoglobin has the potential to trigger anemia. The GMO ingredient, soy leg hemoglobin, is created from yeast. However, the yeast used for soy leg hemoglobin is also genetically modified. In summary, Impossible Foods faux burgers contain a genetically altered variation of soy stemming from yeast that food scientists within laboratories have also altered. Highly, highly processed, folks. The resulting Frankenburger, their word not mine, appears to be anything but healthy. Though the weight and blood composition changes identified in rats after consuming the Impossible Burger are not guaranteed to occur in humans after consuming the same food products, the study results are concerning. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, allows Impossible to sell its chemical-laden and genetically modified products throughout the country. Impossible's brass obtained governmental permission to market the faux hamburgers in the United Kingdom and the European Union after requesting clearance in 2019. End quote. We'll get back to that article in a moment because the author asks a pertinent question that's obvious to you and I. But are you surprised by this? I'm more surprised that the Impossible executives let this information out to the public, and I'm also surprised that people at all thought that, GMO soy that's more altered than normal is a good idea. But if willing, they let our information out willingly, so I do want to thank them for having the integrity to publicly admit that there's a problem. Looks likely their stock is going to crash as they examine the issue further, but at least it suggests that their claims to be wanting to promote human health actually have some merits to them, that they're not just saying things to make a few bucks. I'll try to give you an update on the story as it develops because this is worth following. The basic question that everyone should be asking is asked by the author of the article here. Should we even allow this stuff to be sold to the public? That's with the caveat of, yes, these were done on rats, not on humans. But warning, the author says something stupid about red meat here, but in general, because he's coming from a plant-based perspective and his perspective is otherwise good, I'm willing to address things that go against the narrative. I'll let this one slide because he's, willing to take on the narrative. Quote, let's shift our attention to what matters most, human health and nutrition in the societal push towards veganism that becomes more transparent by the day. Health experts, nutritionists, and government officials far and wide are pushing a narrative that a society-wide transition to veganism or vegetarianism will save the planet, reduce medical bills, and extend human longevity. Again, this is from a plant-based person, folks. Sounds like me. Anyway. However, the above study makes it clear that concerns about the GMO ingredient SLH and other chemicals added to faux meat products are valid. The lesson from the scientific community's analysis of processed vegan and vegetarian food offerings is that they should be viewed with a healthy dose of skepticism. It is widely known that consuming toxic red meat has the potential to cause cardiovascular problems. No, it doesn't. Yet it also is clear that Impossible's fake burgers have the potential to lead to even worse outcomes, including potential inflammation, anemia, kidney disease, and dreaded weight gain. End quote. See if this sounds familiar, folks. Since I went carnivore, my blood pressure has gone down. The ratio of LDL to HDL cholesterol is what is important for determining cardiovascular health, among other markers. And across the board, we see carnivores reporting vast improvements in their cardiovascular health. But you knew that already. But I'm curious what you think about this report because it's pretty apparent that the two biggest fake meat manufacturers are having problems, leaving their future in question. And I know that makes you sad. I know that breaks your heart like it does mine. So let me know what you thought about what this portends for beyond and impossible. And like this video if you can, it really does help. Share this on social media if you can. That helps a lot as well. I'm Anthony Stine, the Practical Carnivore. Thanks for your time.